Hello everyone, this is PKO Entertainment and we are back again. I'm now going to talk tennis now and the Australian Open and just give my quick thoughts and predictions as we've now reached the quarter-final stage. So I'll just go over who the opponents are both in the men's and the women's draw and give my feelings as to who I think will come through and progress through to the semi-finals. Now overall, just quickly, I think it's been a fairly standard tournament. There hasn't been, I would say, too many fantastic matches. We obviously had the epic 5-setter between TM and Kyrgios as well. That was probably, I think, the best match of the tournament, and I think that took a lot out of TM as he lost to Dimitrov in the next round as well. But yeah, it's just been a fairly standard tournament so far. The expected names have all gone through, is what I predicted in my previous video talking about the beginning of the Australian Open, and I will leave that over in links in the description as well. So, not many too shocks over there. Obviously, we all know, of course, that they've had to go into quarantine in terms of the crowds appearing, and they've had to go into a 5-day lockdown. I believe now they're in a second or third day as of making this video. So, I'm just going to go through now the men's draw first. So, the quarterfinal lineup is as follows. It's Djokovic against Zverev. It's Nadal against Tsistipas. It's Dimitrov against Kastnev. And it's Medvedev against Rublev. So those are the 4 matches within the quarterfinals of the men's draw. Now, when we look at these matches overall, I've got no doubts that Djokovic will get a fairly straight sets win over Zverev. I know there's been all this talk about Djokovic's injury, whether it was a pulled muscle or a tear in his abdominal muscle. A lot of people have been very sceptical because Djokovic just tend to kind of play up on his injuries, particularly when you look at the way he plays in his matches. Sometimes you feel he's exhausted on his last legs, and then all of a sudden he'll go into this sort of super high gear and start getting all the ball back and getting all the balls deep and hitting all these winners. So I wouldn't really take that too seriously in terms of his injury. And of course, when you watch his last match against Milos Raonic, there didn't really seem too many signs of an injury. He was able to hit lots of winners and chase lots of balls down without too much stress or exertion. So I wouldn't take too much into that account. Yes, of course, we all know Raonic isn't going to really push him that much. You know, anything that stretches on between 5 or 6 shots within the rallies, then Raonic will more likely lose the point. So I wouldn't fear too much Djokovic in terms of his physical condition. And yeah, against Zverev, I just think, you know, Zverev has a big serve. Yes, he can hit fast from the back of the court, but when the rally starts going long, Djokovic will just be too consistent, he'll be too focused, he'll be too accurate, and Zverev will just hit errors and make mistakes. And even if he might push a first close set, so he might win a tiebreaker in the first set at best because he does have a big serve. But I think once the matches go deep and we get much more of those clutch points, Djokovic will overcome him. He's just got a far better mentality. Zverev, as we all know, he just lacks that mental concentration in the big points, in the tough matches. We saw that, of course, when we had the US Open final last year, when he was 2 sets up against TM, even though TM came back, Zverev was still up in a tiebreaker and he still couldn't see it through. So it would be a major shock if Zverev beat Djokovic in the quarterfinals, but I can't see it happening. I think Djokovic will progress through. Now, I think also Dimitrov against Kastnev, I see no problems for Dimitrov. Dimitrov is one of those players, you know, everybody used to call him baby fed. You know, he seems to have the complete game. But again, I just think it's his mental focus and his concentration. He really should be far bigger in the game than what he is now. But he's still capable of making a deep run, especially on a hard court tournament. You know, we go back a couple of years ago, he's had a couple of epic matches against Nadal. If you remember, I think the 2017 match against Nadal, that was an absolute monster of a war. So he's still able to play highly competitive tennis, but it's just whether he'll be consistent enough. But I don't think Kastnev is high quality enough to really trouble Dimitrov, so I don't see any problems for him going forward and progressing through. The next match, again, Medvedev against Rublev. Again, I don't see too much problems for Medvedev. You know, he's very consistent. He's looked very strong and performed very well throughout this tournament. Yes, he was pushed all the way a couple of rounds ago in that 5-set epic, but he managed to come through in the final set 6-love. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it here. This may be a 4-set match, possibly, but I still see Medvedev coming through within 4 sets in this match. Now, I think the most spectacular and the most competitive of the quarterfinals is going to be Rafael Nadal against Stefanos Tsitsipas. Now, Rafael Nadal does have a good winning record against Tsitsipas. He's beaten him the last couple of times, especially on the hard courts. He beat him in Australia, of course, in 2020, I believe, in the semi-finals. And he's also beaten him previously in Australian Open. And also he beat him in the ATP finals a couple of years ago as well. So I just think this time, we currently expect one of the supposed next big four, TM, Tsitsipas, Medvedev, Zverev, to break through. And I've just got a funny feeling that Tsitsipas might come through here. And I only say that because Rafa has been talking about this kind of niggling back injury that he's had. Now, so far, throughout all of Rafa's matches, there hasn't been too many signs of that. He played very well against Fognini. Fognini did push him a bit in the second set, but Rafa came through. He was more consistent. There have been no signs at all in terms of Rafa's movement or of his expressions during the rallies or afterwards. There's been no real signs of an injury. So I think it's one of those where it's a slight injury that can carry on. But my concern is that Tsitsipas will be a highly competitive match. Tsitsipas is going to go for big serves, go for big winners. I feel the first couple of two sets are going to be very highly competitive. They may even go to tiebreakers. I've just got a sneaky feeling that if Rafa loses the tiebreaker and he's down the break and it gets very tough, the injury might flare up and he may pull out. We've seen this a couple of times, specifically in Australia, haven't we? So if you remember going way back in 2010, he pulled out against Murray. He pulled out the following year against David Ferrer. He, of course, had injury worries when he lost to Wawrinka in a 2014 final as well. So he has got a big history in terms of injury when he comes into the later rounds of the Australian Open. So I wouldn't be surprised, I really wouldn't, if this went to 3 or 4 sets and then we saw an injury pull out from Nadal. Now, of course, if Rafa is 100% focused, he may destroy Tsitsipas like he did in the 2020 semi-final, and he was awesome in that match. He was incredible. All of his shots were deep. He was serving well. He was super aggressive, especially on his backhand. His backhand was exceptional in that match. And when Rafa is aggressive and confident on both the forehand and the backhand, that's when he can really get tough and deep to be in terms of the rally. So that's the case on here. Of course, I think Rafa's going to look to expose Tsitsipas's backhand, hit those typical cross-angle shots, look to really drag Tsitsipas all around and out of the court, and then come in and try to end points a lot quicker. So if Rafa is 100%, I can see him prevailing in maybe 4 tough sets, but I think Tsitsipas may emerge as the winner in maybe 5 sets, and I think what will happen is it will get to 4 sets, very highly competitive, and then I think what will happen is Rafa will get an injury and then have to maybe pull out as well. We also remember, of course, he did pull out against Marin Cilic. I think it was in the quarterfinals in 2018 as well. So I've just got this feeling, Rafa's had bad luck in this tournament. He's got to plenty of finals, but in terms of the injuries and record, he just hasn't been able to pull it through. So I wouldn't be shocked if Tsitsipas emerges as the victor in 4 sets, and that's who I'm going for, because I just think Rafa will slightly be incapacitated by the injury that will be flaring up. So those are my thoughts on the men's quarterfinals. And just quickly on the women's side, I have to be honest here, I don't really have a lot in terms of the major competitors looking through this tournament. I've mainly watched the matches of Serena and Osaka. I saw a bit of Ashley Barty's match as he came through as well. So the quarterfinal lineup of the women's side is Serena Williams against Simona Halep. You've got on here Hsieh against Osaka. You've got Ashley Barty against Muchova, and then you've got Brady against Regina. Now, I couldn't really say anything about Brady against Regina on here. I suppose Brady is the seeded player. She's American, so maybe she'll pull through on there. I expect Ashley Barty to pull through in her match against Muchova. I expect Osaka as well. She had a very good match against Muguruza a couple of days ago. That was a fantastic match. Maybe one of the best matches of the women's side tournament. So I still expect Osaka to go in here. She's still my pick to win this overall tournament. Now, of course, the marquee match is, of course, Serena Williams against Simona Halep. Now, of course, Halep has beaten Williams the last couple of times. I think in particular the Wimbledon final a couple of years ago. Now, when we look at this lineup, in theory, Serena should win when she's 100% because she has the big weapon. She has the big forehand and, of course, she has the big serve. Now, as we all know, Halep doesn't have massive weapons. The attributes of Halep is her striking of the ball and her mobility and her movement. So she's very good at hitting angles and staying tough in the rallies and really just dragging out the rallies longer. And that's, I think, the key as to maybe she can beat Serena. Now, I think it's always the case about Serena's fitness and condition. Now, we've all commented that she does seem to be in much better shape. You know, she's been strutting around in this very unique cat suit throughout the matches that she's been playing in. And yeah, she does look a bit slimmer. She looks a lot fitter. I think she had that very tough 3-set fourth round match a couple of days ago. And she came through in 3 sets there, so that would have put her in good stead. So I think obviously the key for Serena is to serve big, try and serve aces, try and end points quickly and soon as possible, to try and end it quickly in 2 sets. But I think she's going to get dragged into a really dogfight of a 3-set match, and I can just feel Halep will just outlast her, and I think Serena's endurance and stamina will get the better of her in the end, and then that's when she won't be able to hit as many good serves and she'll start making errors and mistakes, and I just think Halep will be more consistent. So I can see Simona Halep probably coming through in 3 straight sets. I think Serena will win the first set pretty comfortably, and then Halep will come through in the second set, in a tight second set, and then I think that Halep will push through in the third and concluded set. So those are my overall feelings and picks on the Australian Opens and quarterfinals. We'll wait and see. We'll see how that emerges on this. So I will look out for all the matches, and I'll make comment on the results if we get particular shots, and then I'll also do a preview for the semi-finals as well. So those are my thoughts and feelings on the quarterfinals of the Australian Open. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Who will be your picks? Who do you think will go through? And what's the lineup you feel we will get for the semi-finals? Will we indeed get the most shocking outcome of maybe both Djokovic and Nadal getting knocked out in the quarterfinals? It's a possibility. I doubt it, but it is still a possibility, and it could maybe happen as well. So will Osaka pull through? Will Serena overcome Halep? And will we eventually get to see a eventual matchup between Osaka and Serena? We'll wait and see on that front as well. So let me know what you think in the comments. Please also hit those like and subscribe buttons and notifications, and help me provide you with more content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.